Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update on the Vermibag Max. So my last update was the last day of the year, 12/31. It's been 13 days since that day, so it's time for an update, see how it's doing on the food, see how the fruit fly situation is doing, as it was still showing some fruit flies even after adding the BTI to it, which is a organic bacteria that sort of attacks a larva. So, but it's still showing fruit flies. So I have a light set up over top of it, and I want to see how it's doing. Hopefully those are starting to go down, and maybe check on the food supply, and maybe even give it another large feeding, and maybe even load it up with some bedding to maybe try to control these fruit flies. The one way that I've actually controlled them in the past in a lot of my systems is to add layers of bedding material, kind of press it down in there, and then add more, and then the fruit flies can't get back out. And they can't get out to breed and multiply, and then they sort of just die off. So that might be the other way to get rid of them. I've been just churning away trying to get rid of them in the system. But the other thing we can do is maybe add a fruit fly trap within it, such as the little sticky traps that I have. So we're going to try a few of these things, or make a determination, I should say, to try one of these, depending on how the fruit fly situation is. For right now, as I said, I do have that bug light over top of it right now inside the bin. So that's usually works pretty well for controlling the ones that get airborne. They go towards the light, they get killed, and I don't have to deal with them anymore. So let's go and take a look and see how this is doing, and see what we need to do to get this going again, and really try to get it so I can add more and more food to this system. Because this is, along with my urban worm bag, which I just had a massive feeding in, I really want to start doing massive feedings in this as well, and make it where I don't have to do them quite as frequently, but also to show you what these can really churn through as far as food. They can really churn through, the fruit fly right there, churn through a lot of food, and I really want to get this one going again. So let's go and take a look. All right, so here's our Vermibag Max. I have my light right here in the corner, and this is one of my simple bug lights that I have here. Kind of comes undone there a little bit, but it just has a blue light in there. There's actually a fruit fly right there that just flew out of it, which didn't get sucked in, but that's okay. I'll get that back there in a minute. So I'm going to move that off to the side. And now I've got the corner open, I've got my shop vac ready to go, and let's just turn this on and see what comes out of here. Alright, so not too many. I probably saw maybe between 5 and 10. I don't know if any made it out before I opened it up, but I'm going to take this off now and throw this off to the side, and we'll see what's kind of crawling on top here too. So first off, let's turn this over. Oh, there's a whole bunch on here. Hold on just a second. All right, so we got quite a few there. I'm just kind of crawling right along the side there. So as you can see, there's still quite a bit of fruit flies in here, but I've been trying to keep this going. I stopped feeding it for a while. I got rid of a lot of them, but I don't want to keep doing that. I don't want to just leave it be empty. So I'm just going to keep killing these ones on the side here. But we have a couple little pumpkin plants growing in here, which isn't surprising. Let me zoom in just a little bit more here. There we go. So some pumpkin plants growing in here. Again, I just pull these up, plow them right back in. They are good worm food as well. So let's just take a look in here. As you can see, this is still, there's some moisture here on the top. There's actually a couple worms starting to work their way through here, so through the paper here. So the food here was in the center. Just gonna take this and kind of move this stuff around a little bit. Trying to kill any of these fruit flies I see before they leave the bin, but we'll see. Let's just dig here in the center. Man, there's a lot more in here than there was in the past. So they're starting to multiply in here again. Let's just take a look and see how this food is doing in the center here. Oh, tons of worms in the center here, but there's still food, it feels like. Or maybe actually, hold on, that's just that's a pumpkin stem. That's going to take a while to dissolve in here. Another pumpkin stem. Maybe there is no food in here then. So the food is all gone, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like the food might be all gone again. So these guys are really just churning through this food. It's just a matter of getting rid of these fruit flies, I feel. And I think that'll be a huge accomplishment here. So I think what we're going to need to do here is we're going to have to do another feeding, but I'm going to have to load this up with bedding. So I've got a good maybe 6 inches here. If you, I don't know if it's hard to tell on the side here, but it's about 6 inches that I can really load up with bedding. And in doing so, I can kind of crowd them out. It makes it where they can't dig up through the bedding to get out, to breed, and that'll probably prevent the issue, which I've done in other systems in the past successfully, including some of my older systems that I've had going for a long time. Let me just make sure all these are loose. I don't really want them growing anymore. So that's one of the ways that I can do it. The other way is I can add in these yellow sticky traps in here and try to lure them onto those and get them to be caught, and that way they don't obviously enter any more larvae, or and not as much of an issue. But it depends. I mean, I could go either way really on this. Although I have found that the sticky traps work well, they're not 100%. And I have not found that I have found that if I leave the top off, probably the tarp off, let this just dry out, it can work pretty well. The other thing I can do is, as you saw with my shop vac, is I can sit here for a while and just start vacuuming stuff up. So I could just take this and just continue to vacuum up and just work through it, and eventually they will be gone. I've done that as well, but that takes a long time to do. It takes you coming back for weeks because you got to make sure you get the new larvae that are coming up. So let's just take a look here. See, this is that pumpkin stem right here. This is still incredibly hard. I mean, I can't even really push in on it. So these things take forever to break down in a bin. But this is completely out of food, it looks like. So we're just going to move this off to the side here and just take a look in here down at this material. This material just looks phenomenal. I mean, it's amazing how good this material looks. Sorry, I just kill some of these bugs over here. But this really looks like great material. I've mentioned this before. My material is a little bit more brown because of the paper I'm using. I find that when you run cardboard in your bins, it ends up being a brownish color instead of the black gold that a lot of people talk about. But look how nice and rich this material looks. So it's just a matter of getting this to get moving even faster. This can move. These systems can move incredibly fast through material once they're up and working. And I've been slowing it down because of these fruit flies in here, trying to contain them. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to add a big infusion of food down in the middle here. Sorry, everybody. I know I'm just constantly scraping around the bin here, but I think we're going to do another big infusion of food. Maybe this time, instead of the middle, maybe we'll go on this side over here. So, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to put on a ton of paper. No water. We're going to let it sort of dry out on the top. But right over here, we're going to add, just throw a little bit of paper down in there. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have, this isn't going to be quite as large as the other feedings I've done, but this is like maybe a half a container comparatively, and it's got, as you can see, carrots in here. It's got banana peels, apple cores, and then some coffee grounds. So we're going to throw that in here. Spread that around a little bit. This is all frozen, so there should be no fruit flies on this at all, and if they land on it right now, they're just going to get killed. So, because it's frozen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our crushed eggshell. Again, I'm going to put my mask on here, and I highly recommend if you're working with this stuff, you wear a mask. This is an N95 mask. I'll have links down below to purchase one of these, or at least I think a KN95. It's hard to find these N95 masks. I've been using the same one over and over again for a while now because I don't use it for very long. I don't see any reason to get rid of it. I'm going to just sprinkle a whole bunch of this crushed eggshell on here, egg and crab shell. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cover this back up with this material first. I'm just going to throw this back on top here, make it nice and thick. That's going to sink back down. Now, I think we're going to do a combination of things. There's banana peel sticking up here. So I think we're going to load this up with paper. I'm going to add, there's more and more of these guys coming up too as I'm digging through here. So, but I think we're going to add more and more paper to the top, and then what we're going to do is actually I'm going to leave this on, and we're going to add some diatomaceous earth. It has not been very successful the last few times I've put it in, but you know, I think we're going to continue to try this. I'm just going to grab a glove here while I'm doing this. But I think we're going to sprinkle this underneath here in this layer, and then we're going to put paper on top, dry paper, and then we're going to add more diatomaceous earth on top. So I'll have a link down below to this. I'm also using a mask for this as well. So you really, for these, any of these materials that are granular, you really, really want to wear a mask. If I can open this now. There we go. So I have a mask on. I've got that N95 on. I'm just going to sprinkle this all over here. Nice and thick. Get it everywhere that I can. It's a little bit moist. I think the bag was a slight bit open, so there's a little bit of moisture in here, which is fine. Should dry out in here, hopefully. I'm adding a whole lot of this, though. And hopefully this will get rid of some of this larva and stuff that's in here. And get rid of these. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in. Now this stuff is supposed to be dry, so I'm putting it on dry. I'm going to put this back down. I'm going to take off this glove. I still have my mask on, by the way, because I'm not going to spray with water. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a whole bunch of paper on top of this. Really layer it up here. Really try to get this under control here. Because, you know, I can always have more bedding. I can always get rid of more bedding here. It's always, you know, this is what they consume. So it's with their food. So you know, having more bedding in here isn't going to make a huge difference to me. I can wait it out a little bit. Try to get rid of some of these fruit flies. There we go, whole bunch. I added about 4 inches of bedding here. So this is going to dry out this bin quite a bit. And actually, I'm just going to turn on the, there's a whole lot of dust in the air right here. I'm going to turn on the shop vac for just a minute. I have a HEPA filter on my shop vac, so it should pull up all this dust and kind of keep it enclosed. So now, after doing that though, I'm still going to add some more. It's just there's a lot of paper dust with that one. So I'm going to add some more diatomaceous earth on top now to try to control this even more. So I'm really spreading this on thick. I'm adding this to the entire system here, everywhere. Really want this to kind of get in through this paper, make its way down. And I'm going to mix this up a little bit too in just a minute here. Because the idea is I want this to dry out. This needs to dry out and get everywhere. And that way they have to come in contact with it. As I said, this is also a little bit damp. It's going to dry out probably in here. And everything I read says you can apply this wet. As long as it dries out, it'll work. So I'm adding a whole lot to this though to try to maintain this. All right, hold on here. One more, I think, and then I'm going to mix it up. Just over here to the corner. Maybe one more. Missed this corner over here. There we go. Okay. There we go. A whole lot in there. I'll close up that bag in a minute. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of move this around a little bit, get it to spread. And remember, you really, really want a mask for this. I've got my mask on. This stuff can get in your lungs and really cause issues. That's going to cause it to move around in here and spread around. So it gets sort of everywhere. I'm going to just turn on my shop vac again. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to take off my glove here. And I'm going to put back on the tarp. And I'm just going to put this on top. Hopefully this probably won't hold in nearly as much moisture as I was holding in before. But what I'm going to do, just to make sure, because the only reason why I'm putting this back in here is I've got worms on it, is I'm going to pull this away so that way there's some air that can escape from that edge. In fact, I think I'm going to fold this corner back here. I'm going to fold this like this, and that way there's an open corner right here. And then I'm going to close this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I've done multiple times here with this bin, or these bag systems, I should say. Make sure all that stuff's in there. Is I'm going to grab my light right here, which typically works pretty well, and it looks like there's quite a few dead bugs in there right now. I did clean it out right before I did this before. And I'm going to anchor it right here. And actually, let me anchor it a little bit lower. Right here. and drop that right in this corner. Let's just see if I can get you to see that here. I'm going to zoom out. Oops. Right here. I've got this right at that corner. I'm going to zip this bag up so that way it goes right into that light. It's actually underneath here. It's not touching the part underneath, but that's going to get this to go up, and that way any bugs hopefully will come out by this corner. They're going to come up in here, get zapped and die, and that way we can try to clear this out and really get this bin moving, because I really need this bin to start moving again. So that's my update for this week. I'm going to take my mask off here. I think the dust has settled down. And, you know, I'm really trying to get this bin going again. I've had a lot of issues with fruit flies. You know, nothing that just happens sometimes in bins. And this one, I've had trouble getting rid of them. I've tried a couple different things. But I'm really going to try this time to get rid of them. I decided not to put the sticky trap in there this time. I might have some, though. I've done this before where I put it in pots, sort of right around here. So I'll put, you know, a pot on this piece of wood right here with one of these in there. And that'll sort of lure them out, and they'll go right to it, hopefully. I've also done it where I've had actually fruit left out in a container that's right nearby one of these, hoping that they'll go and stick to that. And, you know, the container will have a piece of cloth over top so the bugs can't get in it. So just some suggestions for fruit fly control. This is something that you probably will have to deal with this. If you freeze all your food and you don't have any issues, that helps a lot, I should say, when you freeze your food. But you can still have issues even if you do, from just food coming in your house, something migrates its way downstairs or to wherever you have your bin. And if you have it outside, of course, you're going to have issues, but doesn't matter, it's outside, right? So that's my update for this week. Thank you for watching. If you have questions, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think.